Alright, so this first lesson is going to be super basic. Just going to do the simple rock pattern. So I don't have paper. I just super quick sketch it on my thing here. But I know how to read and write music, specializing in drum, obviously. So I can always write out the patterns that I'm playing. But rock pattern is a great place to start out with because it pretty much covers almost everything we listen to these days. Um, and with the of how we're going to start out with, it's going to be matching your right hand and right foot and your left hand to the snare. So the right hand is on the hi-hat, which is normally up here, but as you can see, I don't have a drum set to play on. So it's just going to be like a practice pad scenario. So right hand is on the hi-hat. I guess this is the ride cymbal position, and then obviously the kick is down here. So basically, it's really quite simple once you catch onto it. The right hand is tracking the tempo and just the basically the measure. So the basic rock pattern is eighth notes, which means you play 8 notes per bar of 4/4. So if you were to count it out, a bar of 4/4, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat 1, 2, 3, 4. And since there's 4, that's called a quarter because there's 4 quarters in a dollar. Split that up into 8, and that's called an eighth note. And to count an eighth note, you just put an and in between the numbers. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then you just keep repeating that. So if you were to play eighth notes on the hi-hat, it would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and as you see written on a piece of paper, the kick is on the 1 and 3, snare is on the 2 and 4. So all you have to do is just count all the way up to 4, and then hit the drum on that note. So basically, I'll just play it for you so you know what it sounds like. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and with drums, your limbs will begin to gain their own independence, and as you're learning and playing and getting better at the drums, you'll be able to move your limbs in different timings, and this will get a lot easier as we go on. If you're struggling, then we can just, instead of playing eighth notes, we'll just play quarter notes on the hi-hat. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and just make sure that you don't you have to master it at a slower speed before you start to take it faster, because you don't want to create bad habits. So we'll just start off slower. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and if it's really hard to match those two or all 3 limbs at the same time, right off the bat, we could always break it down by limb too. So just get the hi-hat down, and then we'll add the kick on 1 and 3. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we can add in the snare on 2 and 4. We can practice that. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we'll just combine everything. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 so to separate your limbs, oftentimes it's easier just to play one part of the rhythm and then just add the extra limb as you get better. So we're just going to do 1 and 3 on the kick and then 2 and 4 on the snare, but we're going to do 2 bars of the kick and then add in the snare 2 bars after that. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 So if we go through that, we'll start slower. As you master it and get better at that rhythm, then you can start to speed it up. So we'll play it at this speed. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 then as you get better and better, you'll start to get looser. Instead of being like so rigid with your arms and playing with your elbows, you'll start to be able to kind of make the stick a little bit more flowy, which will come into play in different ways, like for bouncing the stick, being able to control how many times your stick hits the pad, and then not wearing out and getting carpal tunnel in your wrist. So that's very important to make sure you remain loose. If you're tightening up, it means you're going too fast, or you're just too stressed out and you just need to take a breather. So yeah, so we'll just play a little bit faster. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and each person kind of catches on at their own rate. So obviously, definitely tailor it to that skill level. So oftentimes people catch on pretty fast, and then we'll add like a second kick or a second snare, and then make sure we write that down, and then that's what I would send home for practice. So basically, we're just going to add a kick on 1 and 2, and then we'll just do that over and over again. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 or I'll start switching the snare and the kick into eighth notes. So the kick would be on 1 and then 3 and then start slow with that one, and then speed it up if they catch on quickly. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And if that's too fast, obviously take it back. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then switching up with the snare. Snare is going to be on 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and of course each person is different, so there's no worries. If you get frustrated, just take a breather, come back to it, take it slower, get comfortable first, and then we'll work out all the kinks. I don't have a drum throne, so my posture isn't the best right now. But posture actually plays a pretty major role in being able to play for long periods of time. And that's something that everybody works on. So don't beat yourself up if it's not perfect all the time. Obviously, since I was leaning back, but you want to be upright with your elbows closer in. Like, you don't want to be playing like this. You want your arms just to be relaxed and floppy, so you can have more control without your muscles tensing up, because that causes some issues later on with carpal tunnel in your wrists especially. So yeah, so that's basically the first lesson. Depending on how long or how well the student really catches on to it, might show them some different things. Oftentimes I like to kind of give them like, this is what can be played on the drum set, and I can get you to this level. So like maybe show them the fill. Pretty simple stuff. Switch up the patterns a little bit, or if the kid's like really excited about drums, sometimes I show like a really fancy pattern. So it just depends on the person. But that is my first lesson.